Blue Bossa is a really popular jazz standard that a lot of musicians like to jam on, and I know this because one of my top viewed videos on this channel is my backing track for Blue Bossa with 1.5 million views. But I believe understanding the chord progressions is the secret to unlocking your jazz improv and playing better over top of it. So in today's video, I'm going to be doing a full-on color-coded chords analysis of Blue Bossa. Let's do this thing. What's up, Brent here from LearnJazzStandards.com, which is a blog, a podcast, and videos geared towards helping you become a better jazz musician. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification button in case you've never done that before. Like I said, we're gonna be doing a chords analysis of Blue Bossa today to help us understand it better. So I'm gonna be taking a clip out of one of my courses in my LJS Inner Circle membership called the Jazz Standards Playbook, where we study Blue Bossa with an improv lesson and a bunch of other resources as well. But we're just going to go over the chords analysis today. But before we jump into that, I want to talk about today's sponsor of the video, which is my very own LJS Inner Circle membership, which is access to monthly jazz standard studies, complete with etudes, exercises, and a community of other musicians to practice with. Access to all of my premium courses, such as the Jazz Standards Playbook, access to Basics 101 courses, access to live monthly Q&As, and a really, really awesome community of like-minded musicians. So if you want to learn more about that, go to ljsinnercircle.com or go ahead and click the link in the description down below, and hope to see you as a member. All right, let's jump right into that analysis. From the beginning, hone in on this. We start with the one chord right here, C minor 7. That is a common thing, right, to start on the one chord, but even as we discovered in the Autumn Leaves study, things don't always start on the one chord, and they don't always start in the parent key center, right? So, but in this case with Blue Bossa, we are starting here on C minor, right? Okay, so C minor goes for 2 bars. Then we shift over to F minor 7, which is what? It is the 4 chord to C minor. Okay, 4 chord. Now this is where we hit into this orange section right here that I want you to pay a little bit of attention to. What you will find throughout this book and throughout this companion course is that there are many different ways to look at chord progressions. And I've identified what I think are the best ways, but this is my interpretation of this. If we take a look here at the Roman numerals, F minor 7 is indeed the 4 chord in C minor, right? We know that. That's easily identifiable if you go to the diatonic series. Totally makes sense. Now there's B flat 7 right here. What is that, right? What is that? How is that functioning? Well, actually, it's quite explainable. It's functioning as the dominant 7th chord, which is in fact diatonic. It's diatonic to C minor 7, to the key of C minor. So that makes sense. Now we don't often see a dominant 7th chord, the 7th chord of the series in there. You know, it's just not something we see all the time. So the way I like to look, when I see the chords like this, when I see a minor 7th chord and then following it a dominant 7th chord, immediately a bell goes off in my head and I'm thinking, how does this function? Is this should I look at this chord as the 7th chordal tone to the minor key, or should I look at this in comparison to this chord, F minor 7? And my answer is always look at every single chord in context. When you're trying to analyze stuff, look at it in context, because we don't always want to be looking at chords individually. Like, we don't want to look at this D minor 7 individually from this entire chord progression, right? This is a 2-5-1 chord progression in C minor, right? That's how that's functioning. We don't want to look at this G separately. We don't want to look at this C minor separately. No, it's a unit here. And that's same what I have up here. So what I'm looking at here is I'm saying that this is a 2-5 of the relative major. Now remember in the Autumn Leaves study, we talked about relative major. How do we figure that out? I taught you that like really quick little hack, and in case you're not familiar with all that stuff already. If we have C minor, if we move up a minor 3rd, we have E flat. E flat major is your relative major key, right? So if I look at this, this is indeed true. An F minor 7 is the 2 chord in an E flat major, and B flat 7 is the dominant 5 chord in E flat major. So you can think of that as just a momentary, now it doesn't resolve to E flat major, and that's okay. This happens a lot in jazz, by the way. That's okay. But I'm thinking more of this as a 2-5 to E flat major rather than a 4-7 to C minor. Does that make sense? There's a lot of different ways to look at this, but that's the way I like to look at it. Whenever I see a 2-5, 2-5s are huge in jazz, so I always pay attention to that. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense of that orange section right there in my interpretation. Okay, like I went over here, starting in bar 6, we have the 2, 5, 1 in C minor, right? There's that 2, 5, 1. Always super important. That's why it is so important to know your 2, 5, 1s in all 12 keys. Right? Okay. Now let's move on. That's pretty simple to understand, right? We're really honing in here on the key of C minor. Now this is where things get interesting here in bar 10. Now all of a sudden we're moving into a brand new key center. This is not diatonic at all. And so you'll notice in my Roman numeral analysis, I'm not trying to relate these chords to C minor 7. Whoops. Zoom out. I'm not trying to relate these chords to C minor 7. Why? Because they have nothing to do with C minor 7. It would be a mistake to try to think of them that way. Now we're thinking about these in a completely different key center. What is the key center? Concert D flat major. Okay. So what do we have here? Immediately I'm looking, okay, we have a minor chord right here. We have a dominant chord right here. Whenever I see a dominant chord, a minor chord followed by a dominant chord, I'm immediately thinking, is this a 2-5 chord progression? Indeed it is, right? And again, these are cycling in force. E flat to A flat to D flat. Those are all intervals of force. You know, bingo. This is a 2-5-1 chord progression. So we have a 2-5-1 in D minor. So back to bar 6, minor 2-5 into C minor 7. Now we have E flat minor 7 to D flat major 7. 2-5-1 into D flat major 7. Okay? New key center. So that means we have to think about an improvisation differently, right? We have to think about the key of D flat major 7, okay? So that's how we can analyze that section. The kind of what makes Blue Bossa unique rather than just a big cycling a bunch into the key of C minor. Okay, so let's move on here. Okay, last 4 bars, right? This is a pretty short form. This is only a 16-bar song. So now what do we got here? Another 2-5-1, minor 2-5-1 in what key? C minor. This is a pretty simple song, right? I mean, as long as you know your 2-5-1s and you can identify this different key that we're going into this in the purple section here, this is a pretty easy song because it just sticks into C minor. So minor 2-5-1 into C minor 7, okay? Now here I've included this little 2-5 turnaround, and that's because I don't always put this in all the chord analyses, but we have this repeat sign. And obviously in jazz, what you always do is you play the head. You may play the head twice, and then you go into soloing, and you're repeating the form over and over again for the improvisation, right? So oftentimes, you will add a turnaround to go back up to the top of the form, right? Because we're targeting this C minor 7 up at the top of the form again. So this is a 2-5 turnaround back up to the top. Okay, that is the chords analysis of Blue Bossa. All right, so I hope you found that analysis of Blue Bossa helpful and you got something out of that. Now, I do have an improv lesson in my Jazz Standards Playbook companion course that this came out of to go along with Blue Bossa. So again, if you want to check that out, the best way to do that is to join my LJS Inner Circle membership, ljsinnercircle.com, or feel free to check it out right over here. All right. That's all for today's video. Subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit the like button on the video, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the next one.